Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. The Franchise and Concession Review Committee public hearing will now come to order. Will you please call the roll?
Mayor,
Bill Heinsohn, present.
Office of the Mayor,
Malcolm Kane, present.
Controller,
Christian Stover, present.
Corporation Counsel,
Matthew Bridge, present.
Office of Management and Budget, Nancy Glenn, present. President Borough of the Bronx. Let the record reflect President Borough of the Bronx is not present. President Borough of Brooklyn,
John Douglas here.
President Borough of Manhattan,
Tawny Best, present.
President Borough of Queens. Let the record reflect President Borough of Queens is not present. President Borough of Staten Island.
Lauren Lefkowitz, present.
Representative Department of Small Business Services.
Anthony Dell'Olio, present.
Welcome to this public hearing of the FCRC. The hearing being conducted today has been publicly advertised in accordance with the New York City Charter and the concession rules of the City of New York. In order to make sure that anyone who wants to be heard has the opportunity to do so, we ask that anyone wishing to speak fill out a request slip which may be obtained from the clerk. People who have registered to speak will be called upon to testify after the calendar item has been called. You may also submit written testimony to the clerk, which will be made part of the record and available to every member of the committee. Any written submissions can be given to the clerk at the close of the public hearing, or may be emailed to fcrc@mocs.nyc.gov. That's fcrc@mocs.nyc.gov until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. All written testimony will be provided to the committee for our review and consideration. We're going to give each speaker approximately 3 minutes. When you testify, we ask that you please restate your name and affiliation, if any. Can you please call the only calendar item?
New York City Department of Small Business Services calendar item number 1. In the matter of the intent to seek Franchise and Concession Review Committee approval pursuant to Section 116 of the concession rules of the City of New York to utilize a different procedure to enter into a significant sole source interim concession agreement with First Flight Heliports LLC doing business as Saker Aviation Services to provide for the operation of the downtown Manhattan heliport. The agreement would provide for 1 6-month term with 2 6-month options to renew at the discretion of SBS. This agreement intends to keep the heliport operational while SBS solicits a new heliport operator via a 113 request for proposals.
Okay, thank you. We'll take testimony from the public in just a second, but first, does any member of the committee have a statement that they'd like to make? Okay, hearing none. We'll now hear testimony from the public. As a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to testify. We ask that you be respectful of other speakers' time and be courteous when providing your testimony. Can you please call the first person?
Kate Madigan, please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Hello? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, for listening to our public remarks. My name is Kate Madigan from the Public Theater, also known as the New York Shakespeare Festival, and we respectfully oppose any new expansion for helicopter traffic in the New York City area. This includes any changes to the downtown Manhattan heliport. For years, we have been vocal in raising awareness that our free Shakespeare performances in the open-air Delacorte Theater in Central Park are continually interrupted by hovering tourist helicopters. Free Shakespeare in the Park is a 65-year-long tradition experienced by thousands of New Yorkers and tourists annually. The Delacorte Theater, located along the 81st Street Traverse across Central Park, experiences a significant amount of noise during performances. Furthermore, each year there is a significant amount of sightseeing helicopter traffic above the Delacorte Theater that creates constant and disruptive noises during performances. The Public Theater stage managers and government relations team keep record of helicopter disruptions that data shows that night after night our performances are interrupted. Therefore, we will continually oppose any room for helicopter traffic expansion in NYC. Currently, there is no recourse in this metropolitan area to control the constant noise pollution created by leisure helicopters and other tourist rotorcrafts hovering above the city. We only have these public spaces to expand upon the blatant reduction in quality of life. To be clear, the Public Theater respects and understands the need for official business carried out in the sky by emergency medical teams, NYPD, and those monitoring public safety from helicopters. The luxury and sightseeing rotorcrafts are the main disruptors and constantly threaten quality of life in New York City. Overall, the noise pollution caused by the hovering and circling of leisure helicopters destroys our theater experience for the audience and heavily distracts performers. Not only have cast and crew of the show prepared for weeks to deliver an amazing performance, but the audience has also waited hours in line for tickets. The average citizen isn't prepared to carry around noise-canceling aviation headsets. Furthermore, helicopters make more noise when turning compared to flying straight, as the change in direction alters the vortices around the blades. Therefore, any helicopter that circles around the open-air Delacorte Theater in Central Park, maximizes their noise pollution. Any sightseeing company is aware of the noise pollution produced while circling around, but they continue to ignore respect and consideration for the communities below. In conclusion, the recently proposed expansions for the downtown Manhattan heliport are unacceptable and need not move forward. Protecting the quality of life for New Yorkers is of the utmost concern. We would be happy to discuss these concerns with you and your teams at your requests. Thank you so much for your time and careful consideration of this important issue.
Thank you. Vern Zimmer, please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Excuse me, I'm not sure if your mic is on. You push the button.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you to the committee for allowing me to speak as a member of the public. My name is Vern Zimmer, and I'm a new member of Stop the Chop, but I'm not representing in any official capacity. They're just about personal experiences. I find that helicopter traffic to make unnecessary noise that's very disturbing, whether it's viewing performances by the Hudson Classical Theater along the Hudson Park outdoors. That's very well prepared. It's ruining the experience there. And the times in Central Park, which provides a wonderful space to commune with nature and other like-minded New Yorkers. The helicopter traffic makes unnecessary noise that is to the point of being a nuisance there. And whether it's a helicopter hovering directly over my apartment for 20 minutes at a time provides a lot of stress. As I studied in New York City, the Open Center with the sound music healing course, and also from my own experience of being healed by sound and healing, sound makes a difference in people's health, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. The way of producing sound can integrate all these healing factors to change your whole system, including your immune system. So I am against expanding any heliport traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Barb Reichschau. Please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Barbara Ritual, I'm unaffiliated. How do I turn this on? It's on? I'm unaffiliated. I'm sure you've all read the New York Times article about what the noise is doing to the health of everyone in Lower Manhattan. So we all know that, but my question is, and I don't know if this is part of what you can do, but if there's congestion pricing for cars because of the pollution for cars, why isn't the aviation fuel that's spewing diesel on us part of that consideration? The governor had said people in the cars could take trains. People coming from helicopters from the Hamptons could also take the train. So I don't know if this is part of your purview, but I think you should close that port of 30th Street as opposed to expanding it if you think about the pollution from the aviation fuel. So that's just my addition to it. I'm sure you're going to hear all the stuff about the noise. It's constant and it's impossible to work if you live in Lower Manhattan. So that's it. I don't need any more time. Thank you.
Anne Marie Riccatelli.
Yes, Riccatelli, I'm here, thank you.
Thank you. Please provide your full name and affiliation.
Certainly.
I'll let you know, ma'am. When you're at time.
Thank you. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I'd like you to know that I'm a frequent visitor to Chelsea Piers. I live on 17th Street in Union Square, and my late partner and I would frequently go there, and now I go there alone. And it's impossible to sit there and read. Impossible. For 30 minutes, I sat there one Saturday afternoon, and I counted 26 helicopters, literally every 3 minutes, sometimes in tandem. Please realize noise is a deadly threat. It is where smoking was decades ago. Please be responsible. Please end this noise. Thank you. Okay?
Bill Thomas. Please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Hi, I'm Bill Thomas, and I'm a board member of Stop the Chop, New York, New Jersey, and a resident of Manhattan, but a native of Queens. The proposed agreement between the EDC and First Flight Heliport should not be approved in its current form. The agreement unacceptably maintains the status quo with respect to non-essential tourist flights originating from the heliport. The agreement continues as unchanged with rules established in 2016 that were ostensibly designed to mitigate the EDC acknowledges the impact of noise and pollution by tourist helicopters on New York City communities. However well-meaning, these mitigation efforts have not worked. Helicopter complaints to 311 have increased exponentially from about 3,000 in 2019 to over 20,000 and counting in 2022 and now into 23. Any agreement to operate the downtown heliport should contain a provision which bans its use for tourist flights. And I would note this is the only heliport under EDC's jurisdiction that actually allows tourist flights. We've also noted that there is a lot of opposition to maintaining tourist flights on the part of our elected leaders. For example, there's legislation in the City Council, H.R. 551, which has a majority of the City Council as co-sponsors, which would ban tourist flights in New York City heliports. So if nothing else, EDC should be thinking about the inevitability that even if EDC decides to continue, wrongly in our view, with this, eventually the legislation will sort of supersede this, and EDC should be thinking about how to operate these heliports without tourist flights. If, however, you do decide to go forward, we do suggest some amendments to the 2016 agreement provisions. One, further restrict the number of flights by, we think, at least 50%. Further restrict the airspace in which the helicopters can fly. keeping as far away from land as possible, even if over water. If you're over water, you can still be heard on land, as my predecessor indicated. The types of pollutants should be expanded to reflect the latest guidance from the federal EDC. And complaints should be addressed not by the EDC, but an independent third party who has its mission to monitor noise and other pollutants. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. You do have my written testimony as well as a letter that my organization sent to EDC in May, which goes into further detail. Thank you.
Thank you. David Sander, please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Be on the lookout for a time.
Hello, is this on? David Sanders, a member of Stop the Chop, unaffiliated elsewhere. Okay. Thank you for providing this opportunity to speak in my case against tourist helicopters. Hudson River Park and Central Park are treasured sanctuaries amidst New York's noisy and often chaotic urban landscape. And these green spaces were created and designed to provide a much-needed respite, offering solace, relaxation, and an opportunity to reconnect with nature. So if you picture yourself strolling along the tranquil pathways of Central Park or the banks of the Hudson River and Hudson River Park, these moments of solitude and personal recharging are essential for our mental well-being and overall quality of life. And yet the serene atmosphere is almost always shattered with the constant stream of helicopters overhead. I'm recently retired. I'm a landscape architect. I spent my life creating gardens and beautiful landscapes for people to enjoy, and I bicycle down to the Hudson River Park. This is the one, I live on the Upper West Side for the last 50 years. This is the one part of the entire Hudson, the West Side Highway, where there are buildings between the highway and the river. And so when I bike down there, I said, oh, I can just enjoy the river, and one helicopter after the next comes overhead. And I stopped going there because it's not enjoyable to be there. But I used to make the joke to people at the beginning. I said, it's like sitting under a runway at the airport. And then I realized it is a runway. It's a runway to the heliport on 30th Street. And that's exactly what it is. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 helicopters, but I know to go there. So now I go to Central Park, and I like to visit the Brambles every day. And I don't know if you've ever been there. Thank you. Birds are chirping. There's streams running by. It feels almost like in Vermont. I can't hear the city. And then every few minutes a helicopter comes by. All the sounds are blocked out. And the same helicopter disturbs tens of thousands of people enjoying the park. And for what? So that 3 tourists can look down over the park. So these helicopters infiltrate these spaces that contradicts the very purposes that these spaces were built and exist. So in conclusion, I implore that you listen to the concerns of residents who live here. There's so little we can do to reduce noise pollution. It keeps getting worse. We can't stop commercial jet aircraft. We can't stop Army and police helicopters. We can't stop loud trucks and motorcycles. Perhaps the only thing we can do at this point is stop tourist helicopters. So I ask you to please make a responsible and compassionate choice by not allowing tourist helicopters to further encroach. Thank you.
Jonathan Baum, please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Baum. I work for Stop the Chop, doing some video for them, but I also live right here, actually around the corner. I wasn't even going to come to this meeting, but as I started to read the email, I felt I should. So here's some of my thoughts. I'm here to testify today the fact that sightseeing flights that take place 6 days per week. When I moved down here almost 30 years ago, I was mostly quiet during the days and weekends here. Nowadays, the air traffic has multiplied significantly. My apartment faces the Brooklyn Bridge. I have windows. So almost each and every day I can hear helicopters going back and forth. They sometimes pause and they will take pictures of the bridges, circle sometimes over and over to get those Instagram type shots that everyone is looking at on their phone all day. Or for the people that live here, and some do work from home like me, it can be extremely good because these choppers create noise, excessive noise pollution that you can hear from the inside of your apartment. One thing also is, I will say I'm working from home after this. I was working in an office, I worked from home since the pandemic. I do sound. Can't do any kind of sound editing anymore unless I built in a studio, but I'm in an apartment. I used to be able to do it. Those days are kind of over. The Lower Manhattan Heliport at East River Pier sees 30,000 helicopters take off each year, according to the EDC. While the East 34th helicopter is capped at 28,000 flights annually, I'm sure you all know this. After a decade in which the city's 311 hotline rarely received more than 1,000 complaints a year, 2020 saw 10,000 complaints about helicopter noise. Last year, the number rose to 26,000. So you can see a lot of New Yorkers are not happy about this situation. Imagine trying to have a peaceful meal inside your apartment. You have these shoppers hovering outside, and you hear this low-end rumble, and it sometimes shakes the building. So I'm asking you here to limit the amount of non-essential flights on the Lower Manhattan Heliport in order to improve the quality of life for those of us who live and work in the Lower Manhattan city. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Avi, born to New York. Please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Hi there, my name is Avi Bortnick. I'm an acoustical consultant by profession, though I'm just representing myself as an individual. But for the record, I'm listed in the New York City Environmental Protection's list of approved noise consultants. And I'd like to register my opposition to entering into this concession agreement with Sacker Aviation. I'm opposed for two sort of distinct reasons. As others have noted, there's a well-established negative health effect of helicopter noise and noise in general, and helicopter noise is a big contributor, especially in downtown Manhattan. And then just because of the general degradation of the urban soundscape from idling, flying helicopters. Frankly, helicopter noise is obnoxious and an imposition on New York City residents. Secondly, the diesel pollution and subsequent CO2 emissions caused by helicopters. It is the height of irresponsibility to allow frivolous and unnecessary recreational helicopter flying when the effects of climate instability caused by greenhouse gas emissions are increasingly and dismayingly evident. I ask that this agreement be wholly and cheerfully rejected. Thank you.
Thank you. Luca Benboetti. Please provide your full name and affiliation for the record.
Thank you. My name is Luca Benedetti, representing myself and my partner. We have been in New York for about 20 years. We recently moved to Red Hook about a year and a half ago, where we were already visiting before then. And since living there, we can attest to the fact that the traffic at first wasn't as audible as it became in the fall of 2022. And now it seems to have died down a little bit more, probably because they might have changed their routes, the tourist helicopters. But so we kind of have a before and after perspective. I expect it to be back at some point. It's incredibly disruptive. There's birds in Red Hook who were seeking out that part of New York, and also Governor's Island before to seek respite from the chaos of the city. I'm a musician, so I do appreciate some silence at times. And we noticed at times when you can download a flight radar app, you'll notice that there's as many as 12 helicopters at one time just hovering above Governor's Island and the Statue of Liberty. It's a good resource to check just how many helicopters are flying over New York. We noticed them over Prospect Park as well. And it's simply unnecessary. I support all the statements previous to mine to reject this agreement. And I just want to testify that it's our stress levels have went up and have gone down considerably, just having this perspective of as many helicopters as there have been. One day, I remember about 8 hours straight. I remember because I had to make a social media post ranting not a minute without a chop. So please be responsible. These are luxury emissions, extravagant pumping of harmful greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, exacerbating the climate crisis for a marginal benefit to a small number of individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Was anyone missed that wanted to testify? Okay. We have now heard all testimony on this calendar item. For those who want to, you may submit written testimony to fcrc@mox.nyc.gov until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. You can also hand written testimony to me at the close of the hearing.
Thank you. Before we conclude, do any of the agencies present want to make a statement today for the record? Okay, hearing none. No one else wishes to speak. That concludes today's hearing. We ask that the reporter make the entire public hearing agenda, which was made publicly available and distributed at this hearing, part of the final record of the proceeding. The hearing is now closed. Thank you.